Welcome to the Pat White Show.
Many thousands of people living on the northwest side of Fort Wayne and have to drive up Coldwater Road between, say, DuPont and Union Chapel. Well, you know what a giant pain that is. And it's not getting any better, folks. The problem is people have been saying, when are they going to fix this road? When are they going to do something about this road? Because it's not getting better, folks. It's getting worse. Well, here's the latest information from the planning department from the city of Fort Wayne involving the repair of Coldwater Road between DuPont and Union Chapel. Now, they're going to widen it, but here's the thing. The widening is going to start a part of two-phase project. Phase 1 will start in the spring of 2026. That's right, folks. A year from now, they're going to start the project on Coldwater Road, so you're going to have to endure the slings and arrows of driving on Coldwater for at least the next year. I know it's not going to be fun and heaven help your suspension, but it is what it is, folks. Doesn't start until the spring of 2026. Now, they're going to try to make this perfect for everybody, for pedestrians, for bicyclists, motorists, transit riders, everybody. Even going to have ADA compliant pedestrian crossings, 11-foot travel lanes, improved storm sewers, street lighting, even drainage is going to be repaired. About everything going to be done. Now, so that's the stuff that's going to be done in the project itself, but it doesn't start until the spring of 2026. So, what does the project include, you're asking? All right, well, good, I'm glad you asked. Intersection improvements. There's that new housing development that went up from the Lancia folks, and that's about midway between Union Chapel and DuPont. That's a problem. That's going to require a special intersection and, who knows, possibly a stoplight. New sidewalks with ADA curb ramps. So that entire area is going to be having a sidewalk going up. Because you see the north of Union Chapel, over there by the new administration building for the Northwest Hampton County Schools, they've got a sidewalk going all the way up that way. So, sidewalk is going to be going down from Union Chapel down all the way to DuPont. Now, new pavement markings and signage. Well, that's pretty much an obvious when you think about it. You put all that stuff in, you're going to have new pavement and new signage and everything else. New lighting improvements. So, instead of being dark, which is pretty much the way that road is now, all new streetlights going up. And that should look good. Green infrastructure and landscaping. That'll be nice. Let's see what they planned in the middle divider. And drainage improvements. Now, anybody who's familiar with the northeast side, driving up Maple Crest. Maple Crest used to be a giant pain in the butt, folks. If you lived here long enough, you know what I'm talking about. And one of the worst stretches they finally got done was between Trier Road and up into Stellhorn. That stretch was a monster. They got that fixed. It's divided lanes. It's got a nice little landscaping in the middle. It's all very nice. So now if you're driving up Maple Crest, you can go all the way from Highway 30 and literally up to the interstate, and it's all divided. It's a nice road to drive on. Well, that's what they want to do with Coldwater Road, because Coldwater Road south of DuPont is very nice. Very nice road. They've done a wonderful job on it. Except when they tear it up, they don't fix it properly back when they put it back together again. Well, that's just my comment on it, and you can save yours for whatever you choose to say. Now, when they start on this thing, what's going to happen? Well, two-way traffic, they say, will be maintained. It's going to be a pain, folks. I suggest you find a different way to get up to wherever you're going and not use Coldwater. Expect delays, dust, and noise. That's exactly what's going to happen. Same thing happened when they widened Maple Crest between Trier and Stellhorn Road. And access to all public streets and properties shall be maintained. The word shall is the important word there. So, now you know what's going on, but do not expect anything to happen on Coldwater Road until the spring of 2026. Ain't pretty, folks. I hate to tell you that. You got another year to live with what's going on there. But hopefully when it's done, it'll be great. Everybody will smile, and your car's suspension will still live a little bit longer. That's about the best I can tell you right now. So now you know what's going on. Go forth and, well, don't bend your rims. Just saying. Well, like many folks in the state of Indiana, I like to follow Indiana Hoosiers basketball. Sent both of my girls to college there, so I do have a bit of an interest in Indiana basketball because I've been watching it for so many years. Because you live in Indiana, you're going to watch Indiana basketball. Yes, Purdue fans are Purdue fans, and I have nothing against them. God bless them. They're great people, a great team, but, well, I guess I'm an Indiana Hoosier, whether anybody likes it or not. Happened to run across a website called Sport Shakers, and they were predicting who they think would be the next coach of the Indiana University. As you know, Mike Woodson has stepped down, tumultuous career in a lot of ways. So they didn't do as well as they could have, but hey, in basketball, things are changing every single year, getting tougher to be better. So they have a listing of who they think are the top 5 potential coaches for the Hoosiers. I'm taking a look at their listing, and they say, okay, number 1, they said, is Brad Stevens. Now, Brad Stevens, he coached at Butler. He was a Celtics coach. But you want him to leave the NBA and jump back into college basketball? Yeah, maybe a dream coach, but why leave the good league when you're riding around in the nice jets, getting paid a lot of money, and, hey, going to nice cities and being treated like royalty? I don't necessarily think so. Number 2 on their list was Chris Beard. Chris Beard, he's kind of a fireball when you think about it. He coached at Texas Tech, same place that Bob Knight coached, by the way. Back in 2019, he went to the NCAAs. And he also, he went to Texas. Had some legal issues there. Don't want to get into any of that, but he was there for a while. And is he the guy to lead the Hoosiers? Well, can he get himself in trouble? Possibly. But there's number 2 choice from Sport Shakers. Number 3 is Thad Matta. Well, he's an Indiana boy, and that's fine. He's a native. He coached at Butler. He coached at Ohio State. Got him into Final Four. But does he want to come back to Indiana and get back into the Indiana mess and try to be a Bob Knight? The people in downstate, at Indiana University, anybody who's not Bob Knight, they're very hard on. Don't know if Thad wants to get into that. And then there is one, Mike Woodson's coach. His name is assistant coach. His name is Kenya Hunter. Kenya Hunter is a recruiting specialist, but he's never coached and been a head coach in college. So could he do it? Could he get out there and transition into being an assistant coach and a recruiting person to a head coach? Don't know, but that's certainly someone on the list of Sport Shakers. And finally, this is the one I want to get to last. Steve Alford. Everybody in the state of Indiana, or at least almost everybody, wants Steve Alford to come back and be the head coach. But really? Does he want to be? Steve Alford was with Indiana, 1987, the last NCAA championship, and worked under Bob Knight, great player, Mr. Basketball. I mean, this guy is a consummate basketball player. But when he left, he started coaching at other locations. And he was in New Mexico and then out to UCLA. Got fired from that job. But now he's been coaching the University of Nevada. And does he want to leave that and come back to the Hoosier State? His home state, I understand that, was Newcastle, everything else. And take on that mess in the state of Indiana? Hoosiers are hard on coaches, folks. I don't care who you are. Steve Alford may be a god. But is he the god that could lead Indiana back to the NCAA Final Four, even the championship? I'm not sure he could either. Basketball is becoming more and more difficult. And now with the new NIL in place, how much you pay your players, that's going to get pretty difficult. Indiana may have its heyday in basketball. Can they get back to it? Well, you think they could. Well, there's no guarantee of any of that sort of thing can happen. Getting the next coach is going to be a chore. Will it be any of these people, according to Sports Shakers? I don't know. But right now, that's one of the toughest jobs in basketball, in my opinion, being the head coach of the Indiana University Hoosiers. That's a job that only Bob Knight could fill, and he's gone. Live with it, folks. It's going to be tough, and it's going to be a long time. I don't know if you've heard much about what's going on in a number of colleges around the United States. I'm going to give you two in particular, but there's more to be talked about. Columbia University. Well, that's in the Bronx of New York City, so it's in one of their boroughs, if you will. And Barnard College. Now, Barnard College and Columbia University are high-end universities. I can tell you if you want to go there and send your kid there, it's going to cost you around $95,000 a year. You heard me right. $95K a year for your kid to be educated at Columbia or at Barnard College. The Barnard College, by the way, is just for women. But they're together. Well, there have been all sorts of, and I don't want to use the word riots, but there's been a lot of skirmishes and people have been arrested. And it all involves Palestinians or those protesting against Israel, saying Israel is killing the Palestinians. And they are demanding that things happen and things change. But these are students in American colleges. But you know where the problem's coming from? The professors. The professors in many of these colleges, ask yourself, where are these kids learning this stuff? You know, if you get a parent that wants to send their kid to Columbia or Barnard College, they're posting a lot of dough. And they get in there and suddenly you get these professors who are completely anti-Israel. And they're very outspoken about it. But, well, there's nothing apparently you can do about it because they're either tenured or they're professors and whatever the union they're working is, you can't get rid of them. So the university says, well, we're against this, we're against what's going on. This has been going on since Hamas attacked Israel back in October of 2023. They've been protesting and being arrested. Now, there was just 10 were just arrested. But when you take a look, they're completely covered up. You can't see who they are. So they're hiding themselves. So they don't want to be seen. They don't want to be known. And the ones who have been expelled, well, now they're protesting and occupying buildings like libraries saying, we want those people put back into college. We want your rules changed. All because their Jewish students can't get an education. And when you go up into the Bronx of New York, that's pretty heavily Jewish. Sorry, it is what it is. But organizations and people are saying, no, we've got to shun the Jewish population. We go after them. Don't let them go into classes. Don't let them go anywhere. And take them on. It's like, it's their fault. No, it's not. It was Hamas who attacked Israel and killed hundreds of Israelis and took many of them hostages, and most of them are dead. That's the problem we're having. And you get all these young people hiding their faces and probably some big-time outsiders coming in to agitate the entire situation. Now, our students are being arrested by New York police? Yes, they are. But is it happening in other campuses? Yes, it is. It isn't just Columbia, Barnard. How about UC Berkeley, University of Minnesota, Northwestern University outside of Chicago, and even Portland State? They're all being investigated. Now the administration has now canceled over $400 million worth of grants. Columbia University has got, well, they've got money, and money in the billions, and I mean billions of dollars of money they have. So canceling $400 million is a drop in the bucket, none of which they, by the way, they pay taxes on. But there's the problem we're having, folks. It's one side against the other. And this is happening in the United States, and that hate is coming from the professors who are teaching this to their students in their colleges. And you wonder why things look bad? Well, there it is. Take a look for yourself. That's what's going on in New York City and many other campuses where you're paying your money for your kids to attend. Think about that for a second. Something you should know. To try something for free that's very, very cool. Now, let me ask you this. Do you have a cell phone? Is your cell phone, let's say you've got an iPhone, and it's an iPhone 14 or higher. Well, if you've got that or one of the more newer cell phones, whether it's a Android or what have you, anything about less than 4 years old, this will probably work, because here's the deal. The folks over at Starlink, now you've probably heard of Starlink, that's Elon Musk's company. Put all these satellites up into Earth orbit. Right now, he's got 516 satellites in low Earth orbit, and it's like having a cell tower, all completely surrounding the Earth. Now, you know, when you go out with your phone and you're driving around with your cell phone, well, you got to make sure you got a signal, right? You check out and you say, okay, yeah, I got 3 bars or 2 bars or whatever. Sometimes you get a situation where you got no bars. Depends on where you travel. You got no bars. What are you going to do? Well, you got to wait till you find a bar. If you're out somewhere in the desolate area and you don't have any way to contact anybody, it might not be a bad day. Well, it may not be a good day either. So, but here's what you got. This is free from the folks at T-Mobile and Starlink. Now, it doesn't matter what service you're on. Anybody on any service could try this as long as your phone is 4 years old or newer, okay? Any phone. Now, what happens is you connect into their system, and this is free. It's called a beta test. No charge for this until July. But right now they're testing it, and what you're going to get is if you get into the system, you can do text messaging. Now, you can't do pictures, you can't do talking or video right now because it's a beta test. Text messaging. So if you're not, you don't get any bars, suddenly you're talking to the satellite. And your phone will automatically switch over, and it'll tell you T-Mobile, SpaceX, a little thing will pop up, and you're going to see you're talking to a satellite. You can do text messaging. This is available for free, folks. That's why I'm telling you about it. But here's something even cooler I just learned. The folks at United Airlines have now gone with their regional jets, and they are installing the Starlink system on their regional jets. Now, anybody who flies on airplanes, having internet on the airplane, that would be so cool where you've got internet on the airplane. Well, they're putting it into the regional jets. It's about 85 pounds to put in the jet, and here's your Wi-Fi speed. When you get that, you're flying along, you'll have Wi-Fi speed of 250 megabytes per second. Imagine taking a trip on an airline and you got internet. You can sit there and diddle around all you want. Well, that's coming, folks. That's how technology is changing. And it's changing so that you can use it and be online virtually anywhere, in your car, in an airplane, because the satellites are all around the Earth, and wherever you want to call, the sky's the limit. That's exactly what it is. Now, like I told you, this is for T-Mobile. Doesn't matter what service you're on until July. Now, here's the cool thing. When they go active in July, T-Mobile, you don't have to switch your service over if you want this. If you happen to be on Verizon or AT&T, you'll actually be able to add it onto your current phone for like $20 a month. So you're not switching or anything. You're just adding an extra service on that you'll be ensured that you have satellite technology when your phone doesn't reach those bars and those big old towers everywhere you're driving around. Pretty interesting concept. So it's done by the folks over at Starlink, that's Musk. 516 cell towers rotating around the Earth, and you'll be able to be in contact anywhere you go. It's kind of an interesting concept. I would recommend you check it out by going to the T-Mobile website. All the information's there. You can sign up if you want. It's free until July, so it's really pretty cool. So if you want to have satellite technology, the new stuff, you can have it. Right now, it doesn't cost you anything. Something new and something cool. My friends over at T-Mobile and Starlink. The world is changing, folks. Satellites will be now your contact instead of those big giant towers you see. You'll be talking to the satellite in the sky. Times have changed, folks, and satellite technology is changing with it. Something to think about, and something that right now ain't going to cost you a dime. I happened to look at my junk mail file, and I found an email that was sent to me by an organization called the Convention of States Action. Now you're saying, okay, who is that? Well, it's a group trying to form a convention of states. Now you're probably going to say, some of you at least are going to say, well, what is that? Well, a convention of states is where the states themselves can get together, the residents of the states, and if you get 34, 35 states all voting in the same way to say we want to have a convention, it's like calling a constitutional convention. That's essentially what it is. The states, the individuals of the states, rather than the government in the states, is calling a convention where they're saying, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get the federal government out of the healthcare system. Not sure how you're going to do that. It's not necessarily in the Constitution. Impose term limits on Congress. Now, many people say that's a good idea. I don't really have any problem with that. But the Supreme Court currently says, the Constitution says, no, you can't do that. People have tried to fight that before. You're going to have to change the Constitution. And that seems to be what people want to do. And that's the most dangerous thing that I see. Trying to change the Constitution, you're going to have a whole lot of folks stepping in to say, no, we want it our way, not your way. It's going to turn into a fight like nothing you've seen. And one of the things many people are worried about, there's plenty of folks who are going to say, you know what, we want to change the Second Amendment. We don't like it. We want to strip that totally out of that. We don't want any guns in the United States. Right? Well, you can try that, but you get rid of the guns, the only people going to have guns are the criminals. That's been proven time and time again. Now, getting rid of the education system, well, currently this administration is trying to do exactly that. And limiting federal power. Now, how are you going to do that? What, a new constitutional amendment? What the feds can and can't do? Here's the problem, folks. I understand it's a worthy situation. This organization says they've got half the states they need to get their requisite 34 states to call a constitutional convention. But when you do and if you do, you have opened up a rat's nest that you have no idea what you're getting yourself into. Because everybody at that point is going to want to get in and have their say. And I guarantee you, they talk about it's ugly making sausage. It's going to be a lot uglier than making sausage, folks. It's going to be downright knock down, drag out. Because there's people that say, you give them a chance, they want to change things. Because you got two different factions working in America today. You got this side and that side. It's left, it's right, it's red, it's white, it's black, it's blue, whatever. And they're going to fight to the death to get what they want as compared to what you want. So to the organization Convention of States Action, God bless you, folks. I'm not giving you any money. Sorry, can't do that. But don't be trying to do something that you open that Pandora's box, and that, my friends, is a Pandora's box. And I hearken back to, remember the movie Indiana Jones years ago? Remember when the Nazis got the chalice, or the cart, the crate, if you will? And boy, this is the godsend right here. Open it up on the top of the mountain, and what happened? Monsters came out and killed everybody. Don't be that. Don't open up a monster, because believe me, you start messing around with the Constitution of the United States, and the evil's going to come out whether you like it or not. People are what people are, and everybody wants what they want. Just don't mess with something, because if you do, you're going to be digging yourself a deeper hole than you could possibly ever imagine. So have you heard the latest tale of woe involving Hunter Biden, the son of Joe Biden? Well, there's a song from John Lennon you might remember called Instant Karma. And I think the line was, instant karma's going to get you. Well, maybe, just maybe, instant karma is getting Hunter Biden. You're saying, well, how'd that happen? Well, here's the latest word that was going out. Hunter Biden had a multi-million dollar lawsuit against a former executive aide in the White House. I think his name was Garrett Ziegler, because he published information that was in Hunter's laptop. So Hunter was suing him for a lot of money, but Hunter has dropped the lawsuit. And the reason he dropped the lawsuit is because he's broke. That's right. Hunter Biden is now broke. Now, who would have seen anything like that coming? He was selling all those paintings. Remember, he was selling them up for $50,000, $60,000 a piece. Sold a number of those. He said, well, since everything happened and his father left and he's no longer tied to anything, and he got the pardon from his father for multi-years, he's only sold one painting for $36,000. He said a little other thing that happened. His house in the Pacific Palisades in California was one of the ones burnt down. And all of his treasured art pieces that he was planning to sell, they were destroyed. But he said, well, I was selling the books. He said, I sold a few of those books. The books were selling. He said, but the problem was for 2 or 3 years prior to December 23rd, he had sold about 3,161 books. Now, that's nationwide, 3,161 books. He said, but in the last 6 months, he's only sold 1,100 books. That's a total of about 4,700 books total in the entire U.S. Well, that's how things are going for Hunter Biden. Instant karma may be getting him. Now, he said, then I figured people would want to hire me, come to speeches at various organizations. I could talk to them. And no one wants to hire Hunter Biden to do a speech. He said, so I'm financially broke. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how I'm going to sue this guy, Mr. Ziegler, so I've decided to stop suing him because my attorney said they're not going to keep doing this unless they get paid. He said, I owe millions of dollars to people. Millions. And I don't have any money to pay them. Really? What happened to all that money that you were getting for being on the board of directors of that Ukrainian power company? What did you do with all that money? I mean, you may have given some of it away, and I understand that. But, so now nobody wants to buy your paintings. Nobody wants to hire you for a speech. So what is a highly educated individual like you going to do? Well, here's the thought. How about moving in with mom and dad? Yes. Moving in with Joe. He's got multiple houses on the East Coast. He's well off. He's set for life. Heck, you can move in his basement, sit on there and play video games in the basement. Never have to come up. You'd be perfectly fine. Nobody would know. And after all, if you're so broke and you've done so much for, the family, shouldn't the family be happy to put you up and say, come live with us. Come mooch off of us. I'm just saying what's happened to Hunter Biden. His life has, sadly gone bad. So as we trail off into the sunset, listening to the dulcet, pear-shaped tones of John Lennon singing, Instant Karma's Gonna Get You. Might be apropos. Just might be. One of many people watching what happened on March the 4th when President Trump decided to address a joint session of Congress. One of the things that came out of that was about a young man by the name of Jason Hartley. Now, Jason Hartley is a high school student, and he wanted in the worst way to get into one of the United States military academies. Apparently his favorite one was West Point, being on the gray line, if you will. But Jason had a bit of a problem. You see, Jason is 5'10" and weighs 245 pounds. 5'10", 245. Guy's got 6 letters in high school, and all those letters were earned in either football or throwing a discus in track. Now, if you know anything about football, if you're 5'10" and weigh 245, in high school you're going to be a lineman, and that's exactly what he was. And then by the time track season came around, he was throwing the discus because that's what big guys do. So he had a little problem getting through the DOD physical board. And that's where things took a different turn, if you will. He had to simply start working out to reduce his weight. Now, you can't reduce your height, but you can reduce your weight. Got himself down to 206. Now, keep in mind, when he was 243, he couldn't run he was running a 10-minute mile. That's pretty slow, folks. The military, you got to run it a lot faster than that. So he gets himself down to 206, and he starts passing the physical. Starts doing all the required things that you need to do to, at least be considered for entrance into the military academies. Here's one thing he had going for him. He is a nerd. I hate to say that, but when you have a GPA of 4.46, I figure 4.0 is A's, right? 4.46 is better than A's. I guess apparently that's straight A's or A pluses or whatever. So growing up, his father had been in the United States Army, had been medically discharged for whatever reason. It was never mentioned. But his father ended up being in a police force, I think it was the sheriff's department, and he lost his father in 2018. I don't know the reason for that, but whatever it was, it gave him an impetus to keep going. And what Jason Hartley wanted to do more than anything else was to be a member of the military, the Army, because he said leadership was important and that's what he wanted to do. So at the meeting, the president's meeting in Congress, there he stood in the balcony with so many other people. The president called him out and said, "Son, guess what? You have now been appointed to West Point." Now you realize that's something kind of special. And when he gets there, he's going to be a plebe like everybody else who comes in. He's going to have to be treated the same as everybody else. But those kids, whether they're upper class or lower class, are going to know that this young man was appointed by the President of the United States. Will he get any wonderful treatment, better treatment? I don't think so. He may get more harsh treatment simply because, well, you get in. You earn getting in. We shall see what happens. But let's see what happens in 4 years when Jason Hartley, he comes out as a lieutenant in the United States Army. That, my friends, would be something cool to see, and maybe, just maybe, we'll have a chance to see it. Well, you know that Joe Biden is out of office, right? And he said I wasn't going to run, and he didn't run, and therefore he's a past president. But something new has arisen, according to the Heritage Foundation. They have a project called the Oversight Project. And here's what they've learned. During the time Joe Biden was the president, documents, official documents, were signed by what is called an auto pen. Now, the auto pen is used in the presidency quite a bit to sign letters to people and some sort of documents that go out to various organizations, what have you. It's courtesy thing, so the president is not, signing 24 hours a day. But important documents like, executive orders and signing laws, those kind of things, traditionally the president signs those because, those are official documents. And if you remember when Donald Trump went into office, you saw him surrounded with all these folders. And in each one was an executive order. And he sat there with his pen and signed everyone. Over 100 of them were signed. He had stacks of them, and he did it multiple days. Well, it turns out, according to the folks at the Heritage Foundation and their project oversight, they have discovered that virtually all the documents during the Biden administration were signed by the auto pen. Only one document was signed by Joe Biden based on what the studies they have done. Now, Fox News got a whole bunch of different articles or things signed by Biden, and they also determined that these are all signed by an auto pen. President's signature is just a little bit different, and anybody who understands signatures can see it and say, no, that ain't the president's signature. But normally with bills and executive orders, like you saw Trump doing, you sign those. Letters to fans or letters to other sorts of other different people, auto pen is fine. That's how that's done. Well, now their concern is, from this project oversight, they're saying whoever controlled the auto pen controlled the presidency. And now various district attorneys and states attorneys are sending in documents to the DOJ saying, hey, something ain't right here. Something is not correct. This needs to be investigated. Now, you're asking yourself, well, that they use the auto pen all the time. Yes, like I said, on other things like letters to folks and what have you. But on laws and executive orders, normally the person who's in the job signs the order, signs the law. This didn't happen in the Biden administration. Now, the Speaker of the House, Mr. Johnson, said, I tried to get an appointment with Joe Biden, and I couldn't get one for weeks. And then when I did get in there, he said I was hustled by Chuck Schumer, and really they had walls up around Biden. I couldn't hardly talk to him. And when I did, I talked about a bill that he supposedly signed, And Biden said, I didn't sign that. And even Mr. Johnson is saying, something ain't right here. Now, what does this mean? All right. It means that somebody in the White House was controlling the auto pen and signing documents, things like executive orders and what have you, and orders that made things happen that Joe Biden may not have known about. And this all goes back to his mental acuity we talked about for the longest time. Now, is this going to be investigated further? Will the Justice Department take it up and say, what's going on here? Did he really not sign these things? The executive orders, were they all signed by auto pen? Who really was controlling the White House? Now, that creates a bigger problem, because what if someone else was calling the shots and not Joe Biden? That, folks, could be a big, giant scandal of epic proportion, asking the question, were the documents that supposedly were signed by Joe Biden but weren't? Who ordered the documents to be signed? And are they legitimate? Something you might want to think about, because this could become the next big thing for the Justice Department. Are the documents legal? And if they aren't, what does that say about Joe Biden's office and presidency? What do you say we chat a little bit about the WNBA, the Women's National Basketball Association? One of their stars, a young lady by the name of Angel Reese, plays for the Chicago team. She's talking about the negotiations going on because right now the women are in their salary negotiations department. That's what's going on in the league. And she said, hey, here's the deal. We don't get better money. We walk. All right, well, anybody can make a threat like that and say, yes, I'm entitled to more money, and everybody does that. But is it really legitimate that unless they get more money, that she and other players will consider boycotting, or the whole league will consider boycotting the NBA? Here's where I want folks to be a little bit cautious. You see, the WNBA is supported financially by the NBA. And every year they pony up millions of dollars. I'm saying to you, millions of dollars to support the WNBA and the women who are playing in it. Now, you're saying, well, wait a minute. How's that possible? They play like a... Yes. The thing is, they don't play against big crowds. They play in small venues. Most of those venues are pretty much empty much of the time, or at least had been. And so the NBA is fronting the money for the WNBA just to make themselves look good, and so the women don't come after them. So really all what's going on here is they're saying, pay us more money than you're already paying us because, well, we ain't making the money we want to make. Ms. Reese signed a contract for $324,000 for a 4-year deal, about $75,000 a year. But she said, the WNBA ain't paying my rent because my rent is $8,000. Now, I'm sorry, ma'am, but if I'm earning $75,000 a year, I ain't paying $8,000 a month for rent. I don't know where you're living, but it sure has got to be some sort of place I couldn't afford. $8,000 a month for rent? She said, oh, WNBA can't pay my bills. Then, ma'am, allow me to say to you, you are living beyond your means. Buckle down, settle down. Now, if the average person out there was earning $75K a year, well, they know how to budget that money and make sure everything is fine, because many of us have lived on that or less and managed to make things work. Lady, you ain't doing that. And for you to come out and say, give us more money when your league isn't even earning the money and has to be supported by the WNBA with millions of dollars, don't be complaining about that $75K you're making a year. Now, Caitlin Clark has come into the NBA, and she's going to bring in a lot of money as far as tickets go, but she's one team. You got all the other teams that are losing money. So, whatever you get, ma'am, be thankful you're getting it. $75K, a whole lot of folks in America would love to see that kind of money. We just wouldn't squander it on an $8,000 rent payment. So, just because you have an athletic talent doesn't mean the world should be given to you. Because, ma'am, you have yet to earn it. Plain and simple. I realize I've already made some pretty strong comments about the WNBA and April Reese from the Chicago Sky and her threat, and I called it a threat, to say, hey, we're going to boycott the WNBA. We don't get the kind of money like the men are making in the NBA. Well, ma'am, let me give you a little extra what I know that I have just learned. That's why I'm doing this. Is apparently there's been a 600% increase in the new 11-year guaranteed media rights revenue deal. The TV channels are now wanting to broadcast what you guys are doing. Not necessarily what you're doing, ma'am, but what some of the other players are doing. And they also say that there's a big current debt the WNBA has. And, of course, remember when they started doing the charter flights? Yeah, you were flying in commercial, but then suddenly you get a new player coming in, and bingo, you're flying in charters. Pretty expensive deal, right? And, of course, there's the investors, the W investors. They actually own about 60% of the league, but the NBA keeps putting in about $15 million a year just to support you guys. Well, it looks like right now you got a couple of new teams coming in, San Francisco and Toronto, but looks like the numbers are coming out that maybe, just maybe, that in 2026, next year, you guys might get a big, giant pay raise. Yes, that's a possibility. And I'll tell you what, there's a lady out there who has some thoughts on you ladies playing in the WNBA. Her name is Nancy Lieberman. Now, you probably don't know who she is. She's about 2 generations behind you, maybe 3. Born in 1958 from Queens, New York. They called her Lady Magic because she was sort of Magic Johnson wearing a skirt. She could do all kinds of passes. She was 3-time Kodak All-America. She's in the Hall of Fame, played in the 76 Olympics. And sure, her great-grandparents were victims of the Holocaust. She's from Queens, New York. Great player. She's now with the Oklahoma City Thunder. As a matter of fact, she was even an assistant coach in the NBA. She's nothing to mess around with. She's a classic. Well, here's what she had to say, and I'm quoting her here. She said, what Caitlin Clark has done for the game is generational. As a baller to a baller, I want to say thank you, Caitlin Clark, for just lifting up our game. You and so many great players for what you are doing. You're going to make all these women multimillionaires one day like Tiger did, like Michael Jordan did. And we shouldn't hate on her. We should celebrate her and not just tolerate her. We pray to have the media that's going on right now. My generation, and it's happening right now. So, Nancy Lieberman, she played when nobody cared about women's playing. She played her heart out. But now she sees what's happened, and it's one lady, and she's giving credit to Caitlin Clark for bringing eyeballs to the WNBA. Now, you may say, well, not a big deal. I mean, the women. No, it's cheeks in the seats. I don't care. You cut it any way you want. It's cheeks in the seats. And if the contract comes out, they get a good contract coming up after the negotiations going into next year, fine. You'll get more money because the networks want to broadcast your stuff. But right now, don't be saying, well, we're going to walk and we don't get what the NBA players get. No, you don't get what the NBA players get because they earned it. You didn't. Right now, you're a fledgling, and you got one player that's helping you to get there just like Ms. Lieberman says. One person is making you guys look a whole lot better, and the networks are noticing it. Just my take on the whole thing. Now you know where I stand. And, hey, hope it all works out. Hope you guys get some more money. But it takes time, folks. It takes time. I would like to have a little public service announcement for everybody out there, especially if you happen to own an iPhone. Now, if you've got an iPhone 14 or higher, when you got the phone and you were setting in your contacts, your phone tells you, hey, do you want to notify certain people if you're in an accident, car accident? Well, there's a little thing you can touch and push, and you can pick out people that you want to be notified. If for some reason you're in a car accident, you want them to know, because it's a great thing that it's designed into the phone. And Apple has this thing put in the phone where if the phone detects a crash, namely a certain amount of G-force or what have you, it will automatically send out an emergency notice to you and to the people on your list. And those people on your list, it'll say, okay, gee whiz, sort of looks like this right here. All right? Everybody who's on your list, who's on your emergency contacts list, will get this message, say crash detected, and it'll show you the exact location of where the crash is. Now, the line is you got to make sure that you have told those people that you're going to be notifying if you're involved in a crash, that they know that you're on the list, and if something happens, they will get notified. That way, if something does happen, they're not going to be totally surprised. But if you haven't notified them, they'll be sitting there and suddenly their phone will go off and their watch will go off, and they're going to go, what the heck is going on? And a sort of situation like, let's say your spouse is over visiting your granddaughters at your daughter's home. And she does that every day because she's helping the kids with their homework, and then comes home usually a little after 5 o'clock, around 5:15, 5:30, somewhere in there. And lo and behold, it's about 5:20, and suddenly your phone goes off and your watch goes off, and it says a crash. Well, you've never seen that before. And it says the crash is right there on Coldwater Road, just north of DuPont and south of Union Chapel, which is a very bad road right there. It's 2 lanes. It's got a lot of congestion, has a lot of accidents, okay? Crash. So suddenly you're going, what? So you immediately try to call your spouse, figuring, okay, gee, I'm making sure she's okay. You get the voicemail. Now you're really more concerned. So what happens is you suddenly grab your keys and you're running out to your garage because you're going to drive to where that location is. Well, suddenly when you walk into the garage door starts open, and there pulling in from the driveway is your wife. And you go, wait a minute, I got an emergency message here. My wife is in the car. She pulls into the garage. And she's looking around. She's going, honey, I can't find my phone. Would you call me? And you're standing there going, huh? So you try to call. Get the voicemail again. You say, hey, I got this message here. And she said, oh, well, I can't find my phone. I must have left it at my daughter's house. Well, suddenly you get another call that comes in. It's from your daughter saying, hey, I think Mom was in a crash. We're rushing over there to see it. Well, Mom is standing there in the driveway with me. Everything's fine. She can't find her phone. So what do? Well, you both jump in the car. You're driving up the same location where it says the crash is. You get there. Your daughter and her husband are there, and their children. You're there. You're all looking for what could be a phone, apparently, that indicates it was a crash. Your son-in-law's looking on the side. You look at the middle of the road, and lo and behold, in the middle of Coldwater Road on a yellow line, there sits a block. You see it, go, oh my gosh, Coldwater's a mess at that time, okay? Understand that. Coldwater's an absolute mess. So you start waving your arms, stop all the traffic, walk out in the road, pick this thing up off the middle of the line. You look at it, yep, it's a cell phone, all right. A little beat up, but it's still okay. So you say, God, here's your cell phone back. Everybody walks back, here's your cell phone, everything's fine. And you think everything's okay, except for one little problem. What if your other daughter happens to be on a dream vacation with a whole bunch of her friends down in the Caribbean? And she gets the same crash message, and she suddenly calls that she's in a panic and ready to fly back to Indiana because she doesn't know what's going on. You reassure her everything is fine, everything's hunky-dory, and there's no problem, Mom's fine. She just left the phone on the hood of her car when she was at your daughter's house and forgot about it, and it wrote on the hood of the car until she was going down the road, and it fell off in the middle of the road. Didn't get run over, but fine. Lesson to be learned there. Tell people that they're on the emergency list. Make sure everybody knows. And also, don't put your phone on the hood of your car and drive around. Just something to remind you. Now, that's my public service announcement for today. Sorry it's lengthy, but I'm just trying to tell you, if you've got an iPhone and you're putting people in there and say, hey, Contact these people if there's a crash so they know. Well, tell them you're doing it. Because if they don't know, they're going to panic. Just a little something for you to chew on. Not that really happened. I'm doing a what if. What if? Yeah. Now you know.